radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Hey now, how you doing? Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Today's Wednesday, April 27th, 117 days into the new year, 247 days left. We are live from a bunker in downtown Burbank, California. I'd like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black. All right, for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet, I am your oh-so-humble host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? Great show tonight. They're all great. Tonight, special guest David Icke is here, live from the UK. He is back to tell us about his worldwide wake-up tour. It's kicking off. And, of course, what we can expect for the rest of 2016. Later on tonight, Jon Rappoport is going to be here with the No More Fake Newsroom. That is because tomorrow we are taking the day off. We have stuff we are doing. Can't really talk about it. Don't you want to know? And then, of course, Friday we will be up in San Francisco. All right, follow us on Twitter right now, at JChurchRadio, Facebook, YouTube. Everything's Fade to Black, at JChurchRadio. Simple. Follow, like, and subscribe. If you're over on the website, you know what to do. You can also email throughout the show tonight, Jimmy@JimmyChurchRadio.com. The show is interactive. That's what we do here, live and in real time, right before the show. And it's kind of funny with the Fade to Black audience and the Fader-Nots, and it's kind of one thing at a time. And, you know, I get into the bunker and flipping switches and turning on lights and stuff like that. And over on our Facebook page, there's a message there from someone named Tanner. Dude, I want to become a Fader-Not. I was like, you know, and I've got stuff to do. But that's what you do. You welcome somebody to the family. I said, hey, man, just go over to Twitter. Follow us, shout, I want to become a Fader-Not, and, you know, we'll come to the rescue, you know, and we have a team. It's a family. Next thing you know, here he is. Welcome, Tanner, one family member at a time, and enjoy the ride. He just tweeted back, man, I got TweetDeck installed. I'm ready to go, and I'm just saying that because I just want everybody to know I really hang out with all of you, you know, and I've got Twitter and stuff live to my left. Let's do this. It's going to be great show tonight. Fired up. And so before we, kick things off here, got a few things need to get out of the way. And first off, and I know I just got an email from Icke in real time. Let's see here. So funny. I'm going to answer David in real time. and see what. And then when he comes on the show, we'll give him a hard time. He's like, man, I just got up, man. I'm ready to go. Are you guys there? And so let me, you know what? I got to do this in real time. I really apologize, everybody. Rita, check your email and go hit David up real quick. Okay. There you go. Boom. There. Okay. All right, Rita, hit David. He's ready to go. And you support this show. Always support the show by supporting our sponsors. That's all you got to do. Click, improve yourself, change your life, do it. Do it through Life Change Tea, getthetea.com. Go there right now. Click on the banner, use the promo code Jimmy. Support the show. Ronnie McMullen's got one of the best companies out there. And then Studio Dome, I was just going to say, Ronnie McMullen's got one of the best, James Fox and the guys over at Studio Dome are absolutely the very best, too, in what they do. And their new package, which has TWS or True Wireless Stereo technology, the latest Bluetooth technology, go get yourself a smoking wireless stereo high-fidelity system. And, you haven't heard the words high fidelity since like the 70s, right? Well, that's what this is. And it's wireless and it's stereo. Promo code JCRTWS gets you the whole package. Letting everybody know, tomorrow we are off, taking the night off. Okay, taking the day off. We are doing some secret stuff, and we'll be on location. And then Friday, we will be up in San Francisco for the New Living Expo. And it'll be all weekend this weekend up in San Mateo. Stephen Greer, Nassim Harriman, Greg Braden, Mike Barra, Laura Eisenhower, Daniel Brinkley. I'm just trying to think. It is just Scott Walter is going to be there. And, of course, it's Nancy's birthday. So come and hang out with us. All right? Contact in the Desert's coming up very quickly, too, in a month. And I cannot believe we are a month away from Contact in the Desert, June 3rd through the 6th. Biggest event in the country. Come and hang out with us again. It's also George Norrie's birthday, and we're going to have a birthday party for him Saturday night. We're going to broadcast Friday night there, and we have panels and presentations and introductions and stuff we're going to be doing all weekend. Come and hang out. Best event in the country, Contact in the Desert, biggest event. Then the Roswell Festival, which is right after that, June 30th through July 3rd. Roswell will be there. And UFOs Within Reach up in Big Bear, August 19th through the 21st. Full summer of action. Let's get this show cracking. We have to, because today, Ace Frehley is 65 years old. Unbelievable. Pawn star Corey Harrison, yeah, I'm a fan of that show. I cannot stop watching it, is 33 today. And Sheena Easton is 57. And most would remember her for the James Bond theme for Your Eyes Only. Huge hit, right? But in 1987, she appeared in Prince's concert, Sign of the Times. And that song, You Got the Look, became a huge hit. Number 2 in the United States. I saw Sign of the Times on Colorado Boulevard in a theater in Pasadena with a huge concert system. I'll never forget it. It was amazing. On this day in history, 4977 BC, on this day, the universe is created, according to German mathematician and astronomer Johannes Kepler. On this day in history. Yeah. Fader fact. Oh, I don't have one today. I didn't get to it. That's the way it goes. Well, tonight we have special guest David Icke, and we're going to be talking about his worldwide wake-up tour. It's kicking off. And what is the message? What can we expect for the rest of 2016? Later on tonight, Jon Rappoport's going to be here with the No More Fake Newsroom. I don't know if we're going to have time for calls tonight. It's going to be a packed show, but if we do, 323-825-5045. Well, yesterday, right before the end of the show, which was at 9:30, we missed it. And we missed it once again. It's really kind of funny because social media freaked out. There was a streak of green light and a ball of fire that was seen falling from the sky last night. At around 9:30 p.m. is when the first reports came in about this. And a news photographer's dash cam captured the streak as it fell over the downtown Los Angeles area at about 9:30. And it happened, like I said, right before the show ended. We were still down in the bunker. And whatever it was, we missed it. Remember that blue light over L.A. a few months ago? Well, we managed to miss that one, too, because we were out drinking with Dan and his friend. But nonetheless, we missed that one, too. Two huge events over L.A. We managed to miss them both. And this thing that happened last night here in L.A., really strange, but there's not much news about it. There's not. Weird way of reporting on it. There was nothing about an impact. I find that strange. No news of any damage anywhere, unless it fell into the Pacific. But there were no reports about that either. Very strange. There were reports that it was confirmed that it was a meteor. There was reports confirmed that it was space debris. It can't be both, right? It's just strange. And then also yesterday, so that was event number 1 for April 26th. And then yesterday, a video was posted of a mystery mushroom cloud that was filmed billowing over Area 51. Huge fire. And investigators were trying to uncover details about what was going on, at Area 51. You know what they do. And they all gather at the gate. And while they were there, and there was other cars, other people that were parked at the gate, this fire broke out. And it was huge. And the investigators that posted the video are going under the pseudonyms of Jimmy and Jackie. And they said that when they reached the main gate, where the warning signs are, there was another group of people watching the smoke and fire who were being monitored, of course, by the camo dudes and the white security jeeps that were parked on the hill. So that was event number 2. And you can go, if you go to our Facebook page, both of these stories are there with photographs, and you can check out the mushroom cloud. It's pretty trippy. It's big. It's not small. And I did see some comments that, it was excess fuel. They're always burning stuff there all the time. You know what? Check this out. This was huge. Okay, go check out the pictures. And then this was posted over at Exopolitics. Several ancient civilizations hidden in the subterranean regions of the Earth have taken the first steps in revealing themselves to surface humanity and come up top, according to secret space program whistleblower Corey Goode. In the April 26th episode, which was yesterday, April 26th, of Cosmic Disclosure, Goode provided more detailed information about an encounter that he had with inter-Earth civilizations. Goode began by citing his early January 2016 visit to a futuristic underground city belonging to inner-Earth civilization. And for the first time, he identified them as the Anshar. A-N-S-H-A-R, Anshar, who have existed a staggering 18 million years. Goode said he could feel the excitement among the city's inhabitants over the news that their leaders had decided to change an established policy of strict separation and make preparations to openly reveal themselves to surface humanity. The change policy, Corey stated, emerged out of a December 2015 meeting that was held at a secret base in the Kuiper asteroid belt, where representatives of an alliance of 7 inner-Earth civilizations met with a representative of the Sphere Being Alliance. Coincidentally, on January 17th, 2016. Now, this is where things get a little strange, and I just need you to follow me. And remember, we're talking about April 26th here. It's a strange day yesterday. We're going to be talking to David Icke about this, by the way. On January 17th, 2016, 3 days after Good's initial report on his inner Earth visit, a popular channeler of the Galactic Federation and the Ashtar Command, Greg Giles, and everybody knows Greg, stunned his followers by a public statement that he had been deceived and that he was not in communication with extraterrestrials after all. Instead, he says, he had discovered that he was being fooled by a military group using Voice of God technology. The so-called channeled messages I received, claiming to be from the Soul family from the stars, were in fact simple radio waves sent by U.S. government agents, allegedly from the military-industrial complex, working in concert with volunteers, many of which are secret society members who help propagate enormous numbers of hoaxed news stories of UFOs and related space news, building a backdrop for a PSYOPs program that lures science and spirituality-minded individuals, such as myself, into their web. And then, to top it all off, last night Trump swept, Hillary almost swept, truly signaling the end of the world. 4 events yesterday. Crazy. It was a crazy day. What is going on? Yesterday, my friends, was a very crazy day. Tonight we have David Icke on the show. Perfect timing, eh? I think so. But these words in each of these events that went down yesterday are things that David Icke talks about. One of them is the web. The web, the spider web. We're going to talk about that tonight. We have so many crazy things going on right now in the world, all at the same time. What is really going on? We're going to have Jon Rappoport later on the show discussing things about what is really going on. I truly don't understand. I have never, ever, ever been at a point in my life where I have looked around and said, you know, I feel strange. Something's not right. Something's not right in the world. And if we look back to the events of the late 60s, early 70s, Vietnam, and the weirdness that was, and that was a big change, right? That was a big change. But I think that was lightweight stuff compared to what's going on right now. I really do. Right now, we are at a point, not only in the world, but with the United States, that we don't have any answers. We don't know. We don't have a direction. The things that we once believed in this country don't seem to be as real anymore. One of the things that David Icke talks about is the emptiness that is around us. And in reference to everything is not solid. The things that we perceive as real. You'll always hear David knock on his desk, right? I think he did it a few times the last time he was on the show. Because we perceive, this as being real. And it's not. So what is reality? Are we living in a matrix? It's a strange concept. But the web that he talks about, that spider web that he talks about, we're going to get into that tonight. And what is reality, and things like not only the internet and the worldwide computer networks and quantum computing, but Wi-Fi and signals and data that is being carried all around us. If you look around, wherever you are, and it doesn't matter, you could be on a mountaintop right now in Montana. It doesn't matter where you are. Data, that matrix is all around your head. Those signals are being sent. They are. And if you would have introduced that concept to somebody in 1990, when email was super uber rare, it was like it didn't even seem real that it was possible. And the internet of things that they talked about back then, this worldwide computer network. And at that point, it was like Stanford and the United States Air Force Academy. That was about it. And MIT. That was it, man. Unless you had some kind of crazy phone modem. You remember those with the suction cups? But today, if you would have described this to somebody in 1990, they would have just freaked and laughed. Walking around with a computer on your hip that's got a full resolution screen playing back video and video telephone calls and Skyping and the internet and movies and streaming movies and TV and your email and the internet and Wikipedia, right? Well, that's what's swimming around your head right now. And the way that Ike presents it, it's something that I think all of us need to stop and think. What David Icke does, and I'm not going to talk to him about this tonight because it just doesn't matter. But when David Icke talks, I listen. I don't know how he has been able to observe the world and what's going on around him and his family, and not only in politics, but just in general, and the direction of what we are going into and what that reality is. Something that I just don't know where that comes from. Enlightened? I don't know. Channeled? I don't know. In his dreams? I don't know. Secret alien contact? I don't know. But it is a message that we can all learn from. If you just take a little piece of the message that David Icke presents to the world, you are a winner. And you want to hang out with winners. And you're going to do that tonight with David Icke. I'm so concerned with what went down last night in the primaries here in this country. Not about who won and who lost. I'm talking about the way that the media dealt with it, the way that the other candidates are dealing with it, and how our system that we thought was pretty cool here has just unraveled. And myself as an American, I cannot stand back and approve and be cool with what is going on. I am not going to condone these actions by either party. I'm not going to step back and go, you know what, this is all right. It's going to work itself out. I'm cool with this. I'm okay with what is going on, because I am not. A new poll shows that more than half of U.S. voters believe the system to pick their president is rigged. Now, this is not me. The poll that was conducted by Reuters and Ipsos, Reuters, right, Rothschild, found that some 51% of voters believe the primary system is rigged. That's it. Some 71% said that they would prefer to pick their party's presidential candidate and nominee with a direct vote. What was I just saying the other day? Cutting out the use of delegates cutting out the use of delegates, period. Because they don't matter. Nobody even knows what a delegate is. Nobody knows. Who becomes a delegate? What gives them the right to tell us what we want. That's a very interesting thing, and I've never understood it. I never have. Maybe there was some point in our system that it made sense and there was a reason for it. I don't know. But right now, today, it feels illegal. The survey also found that 27% of likely voters do not understand how the primary process even works. 27%. A quarter of the voters in the country don't even know how the primary system works. And 44% do not understand why delegates are involved at all. And that's what I'm talking about. We're allowing this system to continue. It's some crazy-ass conspiracy. It truly is. The definition of conspiracy, my friends, is more than one person conspiring with another to commit a crime. That is the definition. And that is what's going on here. It is a crime. One vote, that's it. You cast it. May the best man or woman win. That's the end of the story. And that's not what's going on here. And for other candidates like Kasich and Bernie Sanders right now to disrupt the system and just try to be a spoiler. Kasich, what is going on? I don't know. Cruz, I have no idea. No mathematical chance to do anything anywhere. And instead of uniting the parties and just getting together going, okay, you know what? No, they want to break down the system right in front of us because of their ego. And that is the truth. And to have collusion between two guys running, and to have collusion because they don't like the other guy, and they know that he's going to probably be the nominee, that they want to try to stop that by colluding. It's not legal. Going after delegates, it's not. It's a conspiracy. It is. And I'm not some crazy nut. I'm not. I'm just an observer sitting back watching this play out like a bad movie that you can't walk away from, that you can't escape from. And the problem here is there's nothing to be done. There's nobody to tell somebody else, you can't do this. There's nobody here to right the ship. You cannot escape it. And it's about our future. It's so upsetting. I don't know what else to think. And when I sit here and I talk about this, and when I think to myself, man, when is this reality? When is the fog going to clear? And I'm going to step out of this back into reality, and I'm going to realize that it's just me, that I'm nuts, that I'm crazy. And then a poll like this comes out, and it's just confirmation of my insanity. It's confirmation of what I feared, that I'm not the only one, that now I'm seeing it for real. Absolutely nuts. Let's get out of here. Tonight, David Icke is going to be here in 30 seconds, live from the UK. This is Fade to Black. Later on tonight, Jon Rappoport and the No More Fake Newsroom. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Hey, Tanner, how you doing tonight, brother? It's Fade to Black. Follow me on Twitter, @JChurchRadio. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. When I come back after this break, we'll be joined with the one and only David Icke. Be right back.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I gotta tell you, it was a relief. National Tax Experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. Doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil 3-letter. So, seriously, give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up, standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Hi, this is Chase Kletzky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station, where the Fade or Nots rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, everybody, welcome back. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I want to remind everybody that tomorrow we'll be taking off. I'm taping our new show on History Channel. And then right after that, we are going to jet up to San Francisco, where I'll be speaking up at the New Living Expo in San Mateo, California. We'll be up there all weekend. Come and hang out with us. It's going to be a great time. But tonight, it's about David Icke. Because since the early 90s, David Icke has made it his life's mission to inform his readers and fans of an impending global fascist state, alerting the masses to plans for a third world war that will result in a singular force which will rule over all of humanity on planet Earth, a new world order that we see unfolding before our very eyes today. 2015 has been a pivotal year in geopolitical spheres as the rise of terrorist organizations threaten world peace. David Icke's worldwide wake-up tour is happening now, precisely when we need it. The tour features information assimilated through 25 years of in-depth research, with over 20 best-selling books. In each of these events, in cities around the world, you are guaranteed to be inspired with genuine thought and questions for yourself. Tonight, we're going to discuss that tour, his life, new book, The Phantom Self, and what we can expect in the second half of 2016. Of course, his website is davidicke.com. I'd like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Mr. David Icke. David, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Jimmy.
How are you, man? I know it's early
good,
over
man.
there.
Not bad for 3:30 in the morning.
I know, man. I feel so bad. I do.
It's good. It's good. I just feel like I'm on Jupiter, though. I mean, what planet am I on? But it'll be fine.
Oh, David, and welcome back to the program, and it's really good to hear your voice, and I'm excited about this tour, and we're going to talk about all of that. But before we get started, and you know how I am, I just want to ask a couple of personal questions. Number one, you've got this insane world tour that's kicking off over in London and then heading out, of course, UK, Australia, United States. We'll talk about those dates in a minute. But how's your health? And what do you do for something like this, man? Do you train for a marathon?
Well, no. I try to get as fit as I can, but I'm 64 tomorrow, so
happy birthday.
I can't go and do marathons and that kind of stuff. And I've had rheumatoid arthritis since I was 15, so a lot of intense exercise is out of the question. But I try to keep as fit as I can. For me, Jimmy, it's all about consciousness. It's about state of being. And when people hear that I'm going to be talking all day from 10 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, with breaks, of course, it's like, how are you going to do that, especially week after week after week? But, when I'm out there, it's like being in another reality. The time goes amazingly quickly, and I just am full of energy. I might feel it, well, I do afterwards, but then you get on with it and you go and do it again. It's about knowing what you can do rather than being concerned about what might go wrong, what might not be possible. I've been doing this now for 25, 26 years. And the last time I did an event of this length, I was 63, 62, 63. And I have never been, had more energy, and I've never done an event easier physically than I did then. So, and that's decades after I was doing it much younger. So it is, we can do amazing things if we know we can do them, rather than worry about whether we can do them.
There's one thing about you. You know what I do? I speak 3-4 hours every single night live, 5, 6, 7 days a week. It's my gig. I know what you do. I've watched it as much as I can, and I am absolutely impressed. But what impresses me most about what you do is you have connected your neurons, everything in your brain, to your lower jaw, and you are able to get thought out of your mouth for 8 straight hours, unscripted. That's insanity to me. And when did you figure out that you had that ability?
Well, again, Jimmy, we come back to the kind of theme of what I've just been talking about. When I had my extraordinary awakening in 1990, I went out on speaking tours, speaking engagements, and I spoke in those days for about an hour and a half, and it was kind of scripted. Because that was the way you did it. And then one day, very early on, I kind of realized that I wasn't even referring to the script. So what's the point in having it? And when you get rid of the script, that is a major, if you like, psychological moment, because what you're saying is, I'm not frightened of running out of things to say. See, a lot of people, when they stand in front of an audience, they are frightened of drying. They're frightened of forgetting things. They're frightened of not having enough to say. And that fear breaks the flow, the natural flow of consciousness into speech, of insight into speech. And once you get rid of the script and you put that aside and you walk out there and you say, look, I know that I'm going to know what to say and I'm going to have things to say. So it's not a problem. And it just flows out of you. I mean, you know, I start sentences which have names and dates in it, and those names and dates are not in my mind when I start the sentence.
Amazing.
Necessarily.
Amazing.
But I know they're coming. Now, if I worried about whether they were coming, that's going to squeeze the flow. So, and also, you know, why I love doing it so much is because when I step onto the stage, there's an energy that surrounds me. Which is just fantastic to experience, and it's like not quite being in a bubble, but it's like being partly in another reality, and it's just a wonderful thing to experience, and it just comes out, and it's just a joy to do. But if I feared that it wouldn't come out, then it wouldn't be the same, because I'd be in fear of something, and thus I would be blocking my ability to do it. So I just go out and have a ball because I love it.
Speaking of that, I watched your little thing about Prince, and fascinating. It was great, but at the end of it, I'm going to throw you under the bus a little bit, if you don't mind. At the end of it, you said this quote, which was just fantastic. You said, "Those who danced were thought to be quite insane by those who could not hear the music."
Yeah.
And I have to ask you, did you dance at the Prince concert?
I had a bop, as we say. Yes, absolutely. Because you couldn't not. As I said in that video, Jimmy, it was an experience in terms of music I'd never had before, right, where someone comes on the stage and the music starts, and it doesn't stop until he walks off 2 hours later, and you're moving and transitioning from one type of music to another, from one situation to another, and it's like there is no transition; it's just seamless. And that guy was tuned into something that he became a vehicle for, and it was amazing to experience.
One of the things that, and you brought this up in that video, and I've also spoken about it on the show, which is, you know, we're at a position now with media and being able to interact and know so much about, you know, our heroes in music and film and stuff, but they're also getting aged, right? And when we're at a point where, like, you know, we lose Bowie and we lose Prince, who were very, very similar in their dynamic, right? Very similar. And also their effect on so many different types of fans, right? Those guys affected rock and dance and industrial and new age and everything. But consciously around the world, people were stunned. And the consciousness and the effect that they had on everybody was dramatic. And listening to you and your advice in your Prince video on dealing with this, what can you share with the audience when it comes to, you know, some people are heroes, and you refrain from calling Prince a god. And I really appreciated that outlook, because some people may hold these, you know, these heroes up a little bit too high, and then it affects them emotionally. What is the advice that you can give?
Well, you know, in my books and on this world tour, I will be weaving together a massive number of subjects, which on the face of it don't fit and don't connect, but absolutely do when you put the pieces together. So I will be talking about how the few control the many, to what end, how deep it goes, the background to it, and exposing that. Because if we do not expose the problem and the techniques used to manipulate us, then there are no, quote, solutions, because you can't find solutions to something that you don't know exists, or you don't know how it works. So that's absolutely, I'm going to be doing that. But the foundation, Jimmy, of everything that I've done and where I've actually always come from is the nature of reality, the nature of consciousness. And, you know, when I started 26 years ago, I got into this because I started to understand that reality was not like we were told it was. And I wanted to understand why that very credible information was not being discussed in schools, was not being discussed in the media, etc. And asking that question opened up this massive panorama of global manipulation that goes deep, deep in the rabbit hole. So that whole idea of who we are, where we are, has been the theme, the thread through everything, and will be through this world tour. And so in answer to the question, this is a time for people to start looking at themselves for answers, looking at themselves for an understanding of the nature of who they are and what we're experiencing. So instead of looking outside of themselves to quote heroes and to people to tell them what to do, tell them what to think, it's a time to start looking the other way. And that's not to say that we shouldn't respect absolutely these, great people who do great work and make a great contribution to things like music and understanding. But it's a different. There's a difference between respect and adulation to the point where you're giving your power to someone else. And for me, the great understanding that will change everything is when people realize that we are awareness, a state of being aware. That's it. We are infinite awareness. And the question is, how aware are we going to allow ourselves to be? Are we going to be aware enough just to perceive the five sense world and interact with it? Because that's what this conspiracy wants. It wants us locked only in five sense reality and disconnected from an influence of the greater self. And so if we're going to find solutions to what is going on, those solutions, I would suggest, have to involve removing the cause of the problem. And the cause of the problem is that people have their perceptions of self and the world systematically programmed throughout their lives. They are manipulated to focus their attention only on the five senses and the reality they can see, touch, taste, and hear, etc. And to give their power away to others because they're so focused in the five sense reality that they have lost an understanding of how powerful they really are, the infinite nature and the infinite power that everyone has. And therefore, when people fall into the five sense, what I call phantom self of, I have no power, I'm just little me, they then look to others to protect them, to tell them what to think, to guide them. And it's this process of giving power away. So what I would say is absolutely respect people that make a great contribution. Round of applause to them. And, great what they do. But you are infinite awareness, exactly the same as anyone else, exactly the same as anyone you hold on a pedestal. And for me, it's time to start realizing who we are, but where we are, the nature of the reality we're interacting with, so that we can start to impact upon it instead of having it constantly impact upon us. So we're reacting to the world instead of us making a difference and making an impact on the world ourselves. I have this line I've used for years, live life and don't let life live you, which is the kind of, the theme of what I've just been talking about. So this is a time of awakening from the program, awakening from the perception downloads that we're given from cradle to grave, and awakening to the understanding that, the body is a vehicle. The five sense world is an illusory vehicle for a certain kind of experience. It's not who we are. What we call ourselves, our name, our life story, our race, our color, all these labels are merely experiences. They're not what we are. They're not who we are. We are infinite awareness having those experiences. And what the foundation of this system is to get us to perceive what we're experiencing as who we are. And once we fall for that, once we fall for who we are is Ethel down the store, Joe who works in the office, then what can we perceive about ourselves except limitation? I can't, because the world of five sense experience, if that's all it is constantly telling us that everything is limited, virtually everything's impossible. And once you move your self-identity from phantom self, the fake self that we're told to believe in, to infinite self, infinite awareness, having that experience, everything changes. And you start to realize that there is no little me except in the figment of manipulated imagination.
Last year, your old friend Robert Perala and I were at lunch talking about you, right? And at this lunch, I had said to Robert, I said, the thing is about David is he has forced me to open my eyes and just look around and look at things differently. And some of these things have come to pass. And Robert's like, exactly, it's trippy. And I said, exact. But the one thing that David hasn't done is stood on a soapbox and yelled, "I told you so." Instead, I feel that you continue to work on the vision and the message instead of stopping and looking at the past and saying, aha, I told you so, and focus the message back onto yourself. Why is that?
Well, the five sense information, the names, dates, places, manipulated wars, manipulated terrorist events, manipulated banking scams, that is the movie screen. That's what we see and what we experience. And it's important to get that information out because it affects and directly impacts upon the world that people daily experience. And so I've done a lot of that. And when you have an agenda for the world and nothing intervenes to impact and change that agenda, then that agenda is going to unfold. So people like Aldous Huxley and George Orwell, Eric Blair as he was called, they were able to write books, 1984 and Brave New World, etc., that have proved to be so accurate in terms of the world that we now see, because they had access to this agenda, this projected transformation of the world that this hidden hand is behind. And so when I've been able to say this is what is planned and it's happened, it's not because I'm some genius. It's because I've managed to access what the projected agenda is. And thus, if nothing impacts upon it, it's going to happen. The whole point of what I do is to alert people to it so it will be impacted upon and will no longer unfold. The idea is not to be proved right. It's actually, in the end, to be proved wrong because it doesn't happen because we've impacted upon that agenda, that unfolding process of ever greater control. And so when I say, things like, I said this in 1990 or 1995, and it's now happened. That's not to say, look at me, isn't it fantastic? And aren't I wonderful? It's to say, look, if I knew about that in 1995 and it's now happening, how the heck can anyone write it off as a random event? if I knew about it in 1995, and it's happening now, it had to have been planned to happen. And so this, that, and the other. So it's not about, sitting cross-legged on a mountain saying, look at me, aren't I fantastic? It's about doing whatever you can to alert people to the fact that unfolding world events, on the society-changing ones, especially, are not random. They're not just happening out of nowhere. They're planned to happen. Now, the next level of that is who's planning them, and then we can go deeper into it. And the other thing that comes from that, and I've seen it so often, is, and this takes us into where we really need to go, is, hold on a minute, if the world's not like I thought it was in this example and on that subject and in this area, then what the heck else have I been told that's not true? And then we can start going deeper into where we really need to go, which is the nature of reality, the nature of self, and also, as I've done in Phantom Self, explaining how this program download works so that people can appreciate why en masse people believe what they do about themselves, the world events, reality, all of it. It's because there is a program that is unfolding from when we leave the womb onwards to download to us a sense of reality that suits this agenda. And it's all based on believing in five-sense reality and believing in the world that we're told to believe in. And of course, you just look at the way the program works. You come out of the womb. Now, you are influenced by parents in terms of your perceptions, who have been through the process you've just about to go through. It's not because your parents are malevolent. It's not because they're trying to sell you a lie. They have been sold a lie, and they're passing it on to you. And it's so when you just take a breath and take a step back and look at it, within 3 years now, 4 years after coming to this world, people, little children, are sitting at a desk with an authority figure in front of them in a school who is telling them what's right, what's wrong, what's possible, what's impossible, how things are, how everything is, when they have to be there, when they can leave, when they can eat, when they can talk. And then this goes on through to what we call higher education, when now young people get into much of their lifetime in debt to pay for their own programming. And you have the state, the system, and that behind the system, having control of what young people and children are told about the world, are told about everything throughout their formative years. And then people go out at the end of this and they go into what we call adult world of jobs, and they become lawyers and scientists and doctors and journalists and politicians. And they take with them this core programming, perception programming, that they've been downloading all through their life from almost the moment they came into this world. And they then run the institutions that are telling people in general how everything is. And they underpin each other and they support each other in the sense of, yes, the program is right, or they don't realize it's a program. The perception you believe in and everyone believes in is right. So if a journalist is doing a medical story, he won't go to an alternative practitioner who maybe have been studying that subject, for decades. He'll go to a doctor because the doctors know about health. No one else does. That's what the program says. That if they're talking about reality or doing an article about reality, they won't come to someone like me. They'll go to a scientist, and the scientist will give them the program song sheet on the nature of reality. And so it goes on. And this is the program, this perception program, the perception deception that has to be broken. once we do that, people see the world in a very different way.
Got to jump in real quick. We got to do a quick network break, hard break. Our guest tonight, David Icke, live from the UK. We're going to be talking about, for the rest of the night, his new worldwide Wake Up Tour that's kicking off in the UK. London is sold out. Then he's off to Australia, then over here to the United States. We'll be talking about all of that and more right after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
Hey folks, Life Change Tea here, reminding you that colds and flus suck. Feeling lousy sucks, and allergies really can be annoying. What if you could change that? What if you could drink something that changed the sick and tired scenario? Well, you can change how you feel with a little help from Life Change Tea. Life Change Tea is a drink you make, you control, and you drink. There are 8 organic herbs that blend together and give you what you need to fight the flus and colds of this world. Less sickness is more relief. Life Change Tea can help with high blood pressure, constipation, high cholesterol, and much, much more, just by drinking the tea. Read the numerous testimonies at getthetea.com. If you're tired of feeling lousy, order right now at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Or you can call us at 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. If you've heard this commercial more than once and someone's trying to tell you something, it's time to get well. GetTheTea.com.
Imagine no longer being tied down to your computer, but having the freedom to take live talk radio with you anywhere you go. TalkStream Live introduces our first ever iPhone application. The talk shows you follow now follow you. And your iPhone is now the fastest and easiest way to stay connected to the best talk radio on the internet. Let TalkStream Live transform the way you listen to radio. Listen to live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mobile talk radio from TalkStream Live. Now available in the iTunes App Store.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tepe.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Right now, hashtag F2B. Our guest tonight is David Icke. Top of the hour, Jon Rappoport is going to be here with his No More Fake Newsroom. And David, right now, the United States is like the four horsemen of the apocalypse are marching through, right? If it's ever been a confirmation of it, it's happening over here right now. And for you, I can't think of anybody better to ask, certainly from the other side of the pond, so to speak, observing what is going on over here. I know the rest of the world is completely freaking out, but there is a difference between fear and sadness. And right now, with what's going on over here with this election cycle, and especially what happened last night, I'm feeling a lot of both. The media, I'm ready to tap out. Okay, they've won. What do you think is going on, and what does the rest of the world and you think about the future of the United States?
Well, I've been saying for quite a few years now that I felt 2016, 2017, 2018 were pivotal years in where this goes, both in terms of people awakening to see the world as it really is. And certainly, Jimmy, when I think what it was like in 1990 when I started this journey consciously compared with now, I mean, it's dreamland now because so many more people are open to things they would have laughed at and dismissed in 1990. But on the other side, at this pivotal time, we've got the hidden hand pushing on more and more along this agenda of total human control. So we can see the good things that are happening, but we can also see how this agenda is pushing on. And I said a few years ago that there'll come a time, because there has to, when all that's been hidden and manipulated under the surface must break the surface so we can see it. Because if you are seeking to transform the world into a very different place, there comes a point where things have to start happening in front of people's eyes for that transformed world to come into manifestation. And so we're also at this point now, not only when people are beginning to awaken to other things they never thought of before and didn't see before, but it's becoming more and more blatant, which in a way is helping that process of awakening. And when you look now at the American political elections, the farce, I mean, it's like, it's in your face. There's not a single candidate with any chance of winning that is anything but going to continue this whole process that's gone through Republican presidencies and through Democratic presidencies. Even though they say different things, that the outcome is that the same agenda continues to unfold. In many ways, I mean, Barack Obama did people a favor. He didn't mean to, but in the sense that I remember I was in America quite a lot at the time. No one could have presented themselves as someone who was different to what had gone before, i.e. the Bush administration, etc., than Barack Obama. I mean, 3 or 4 times in a sentence, the word change was coming out. And so it gave people a certain hope. I remember when I was writing articles at the time about Obama being the emperor's, new clothes and just a fake in terms of what he was saying and what he would do, that I got a lot of stick for that, a lot of criticism for that. But 8 years on, you can see that basically what's happened, although the rhetoric has changed, it's been a continuation of what was before. I mean, when you've got a situation, Jimmy, where the so-called neocons behind the Republican Party, although, the Republican Democrats, they're just masks on the same face, come out with a list of countries in September 2000 that they want to, quote, regime change. And when that group came to power with the Bush administration, that list started to be ticked off. They ticked off Iraq, etc. And then when Mr. Change came in, who was so different to what had gone before, he continued to tick off the list, including Libya and Syria. I mean, it's just a continuation. It's just the presentation that is slightly different, and the rhetoric is slightly different, to try to kid you that actually this is not a seamless continuation with a hidden hand behind it. What you have is the neocons, so-called, behind the Republican Party, and you have a similar group behind the Democrat Party, which I call the democons. And the democons and the neocons at the next stage, the next step down the rabbit hole, if you like, answer to the same masters, the same force. So whoever's in power, that force is always in power, although it's masked by moving from Democrat to Republican and back again. And now you have a situation where Hillary Clinton, who I've been tracking for most of the last 25 years, I mean, she's a massive insider and vehicle asset of this hidden hand. And then you have Donald Trump, who is at the moment the person who's most prominent in apparently being against her. But again, you look at Trump's background and it leads into the same hidden hand and the same characters. You had Trump yesterday talking about, or maybe it was your today, talking about foreign policy and how basically Israel right or wrong. And there you have Hillary Clinton, Israel right or wrong. See, when there's a hidden hand that's unfolding an agenda, but you don't want people to know that, or they'd say, hold on, what's going on? Then you have to keep couching it in different terms and through different people. But in the outcome, it remains the same. So is Trump talking about sending the boys in to sort out the enemy? Well, that's what they've been doing through the Bush administration and through the Obama administration. What's different? And so we have this situation where they have to hide the continuity, the unity, the same process of unfolding events to the same end by couching it in different terms. So over the last 8 years and in his first election, it was the first black president, Mr. Change. Now we have it's couched in, here's a truly independent man, Donald Trump. He's not part of the establishment. You don't become a billionaire with all the requirements of being acceptable to the hidden hand controlled financial system. If you're independent and you're a kind of renegade against the system, it doesn't happen. But it's couched in different terms, and basically they're selling the same agenda, just using different packages and different people.
Why is fear so effective?
Well, when people fall into the trap of fear, they instinctively look for something or someone to protect them from what they've been manipulated to fear. Another thing about fear, because in the end, we can talk about the things we can see, touch, and taste, but in the end, this world is a projection from the unseen. Of other energetic levels and energetic states of consciousness, energetic information fields. And when we fall for fear, something else happens. Our energetic field starts to not solidify, but you get what I'm saying. It starts to vibrate slower. It starts to go into density. And when it goes into density, what you are doing is basically energetically, you're going into a shell. And as you go into it, your ability to access the true self, infinite awareness, gets blocked by the fact that you are moving into this energetic bubble we call fear. I mean, people say, "Oh, I feel so heavy today," and anxiety. I feel so heavy. Yes, people feel heavy because their energy field is starting to move into density instead of being free flowing and out there, able to connect with much higher frequencies of awareness. And so fear serves this agenda on so many levels. On the level that we can see, it serves magnificently this process I've been talking about for all these years, which I call problem, reaction, solution. You create a problem, which you manufacture. It could be a terrorist event, it could be a banking crash, whatever.
A virus.
You then get the public to react to that event with fear and anxiety, and basically either say, do something about this problem, or become open to suggestion of how the problem can be dealt with. And then at stage 3, having created the problem and got the reaction, do something, and got the reaction of fear, you then offer the solutions to the problems you've created, which are changes in society that advance your agenda. So fear is actually, Jimmy, the currency of this whole conspiracy. It's getting people into states of fear. And when you can get people into fearing other people or other groups, becoming suspicious of other groups and other people, that also plays out as another classic requirement of the few controlling the many, and that is divide and rule. And we're seeing all these things being played out in the world, and certainly in the current American election campaign. And this is why, in the end, it comes back. Everything must come back to self-identity, not with the body and the name and phantom self, which is so easy to manipulate because it's disconnected from the influence of true self, eternal self, infinite awareness self, and coming back to a self-identity that I am infinite awareness having an experience. That stops people getting pulled in to anything like the same extent, pulled into the fear and anxiety of the situation, the experience that's happening. Because if you come back to I am infinite awareness, well, what's the worst thing? The worst thing that can happen. I'm infinite awareness, I'm eternal. I'm having an experience. I'll be having another experience shortly. The experience is just that. It's not forever. It's not something that will never change. It's just an experience, and you can observe it from the point of view of being infinite awareness in a very different way to being pulled into it, and therefore pulled into the fear of what's going on, and oh my goodness me, what's going to happen next? Oh my goodness. It's a very different way of looking at the world. So you can look at things that are horrible, that would normally create fear and anxiety, but you can not detach from them, but you can stand back and you can put them in context, instead of getting pulled into them and believing that there's nothing we can do, but also that the whole thing is unchangeable. It's not. It's an experience, and there'll be other experiences along eventually, and getting pulled into to phantom self is a foundation requirement of this whole conspiracy. Because if people are in self-identity of infinite self, they are so different in the way they see the world, the way they see how the dots connect, because they're looking from another perspective, another point of attention, a much more expanded one. So you can see the dots, you can see the pixels, and you can see how the pixels are actually a picture. When you're pulled into phantom self and you're only perceiving through the five senses, all you can see is dots, all you can see is pictures, all you can see is apparently random things happening and bewildering things. And why is that happening? And oh God, this is happening now, what's going on? It's so important that people re-self-identify with being infinite awareness and see the world from that expanded view, because everything then changes. And so does the way we react or don't react to situations. So if there's a terrorist event, instead of getting pulled into it, oh my goodness me, I'm frightened to go out. I mean, I'm aware of people who, after that Paris terrorist event, are literally terrified to leave their home. Not in Paris, in Britain, nowhere near any thing that a terrorist would be interested in, but it's so hit them, they're terrified to leave their home. And so if we get caught in that way, not necessarily that extreme, but in that whole arena of fear, then we become open to be told how we're going to be protected from the fear, and we give our freedoms away and we give our privacy away, because I don't want to, but we've got to sort this problem out. When you're coming from a point of view of infinite awareness, observing the world rather than being caught in it, then when these events happen, you calmly are looking at it and asking, well, okay, does this official story stand up? What are the contradictions in it? What really happened? And instead of just running around in a panic about the way the world's going, it's a completely different way of looking at the world, and that's where the solutions lie, Jimmy. If people try to find solutions to what's happening in the 5 sense world within the 5 sense world, they're not going to find them. It's like watching a movie on a screen and trying to find solutions in the movie to change the movie. The movie's hit the screen. It's a done deal. It's not going to change. You've got to go back and find out where this movie's being projected from, change that, and then the movie must change. And in terms of the world, going back to find the projection is to go into ourselves and find that infinite self beyond the phantom self, and change what we're projecting into the world. Because if we're projecting fear, if we're projecting conflict, if we're projecting us and them, then we're not part of any solution. We're massively part of the problem. It's us that have to change. So many people say, you talk about the problem, but you don't talk about the solution. I talk about the solution all the time. It's that people often don't want to hear it because it involves them looking in the mirror and saying, how am I contributing to the problem? How can I contribute to a solution to it? And people don't want to do that. They want a list of things to be done, and they want someone to take the minutes. That's not going to change anything. Just as the elections are not going to change anything, because they're just a sideshow. We have to change ourselves and the way we interact with the world, interact with each other, and then the world must change.
And that's exactly, and that's such a great point, because I tell my audience, David, every single day, when you watch the news, take the story, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It could be a football match, it could be cars, it could be politics. Take the story, flip it over 180 degrees, and read it backwards, and you're closer to the truth. And it sounds like that's, I mean, what do you do? Because you have to observe and listen to the world. What do you do as you acquire the news every single day? Do you do exactly that, flip it over 180 degrees and try to get closer to the truth?
Well, I mean, you make a very good point, Jimmy, because I've written a lot of my books over the years about how the world is an inversion. I mean, if you look at what we call evil, it's an inversion of life. In fact, appropriately, evil is live written backwards. Everything's inverted. And so obviously the news is going to be inverted. But I tell you one of the processes that I go through. When I started out on this a long time ago now, I wanted to know, I realized that a few controlled the many. I wanted to know how they did it. And so I was looking for a number of things. A, where does this hidden hand want to take the world? and B, what are the techniques that are used to take us there? And so what I came up with in terms of an understanding of this is where they want to take the world is to what I call the Hunger Games society. And this is a structure whereby at the top are the less than 1%, not even 1%. At the bottom are the rest of humanity in slavery and levels of poverty. And I call it the Hunger Games society because of the Hunger Games movies, which basically portrayed this kind of society. And in the middle, between the less than 1% and the mass of slaves, is the strata of the police state, the global police state, which is where they're heading, to hold that status quo in place. And when you've got that structure in your mind of where this agenda wants to take us, then when you watch the news and you watch world events and you watch the problem reaction solutions and what the solutions offered are, it is extraordinary. Day after day after day, the solutions and world events and political pronouncements take us ever closer to that structure I've just described. So, for instance, in the financial arena, you have people, great numbers, more and more in the West, in poverty and forms of homelessness and often abject poverty, caused by the crashing of the banking system in 2008, then the hosing of vast amounts of money at the banks and the less than 1% through governments, which the less than 1% control, from the people, in effect, who are stuck with the responsibility for the money. That allowed governments to transfer fantastic amounts of money from the people, in effect, in terms of their responsibility to pay it back, through governments to the less than 1%. And then to be able to say, well, you know, we're in terrible financial trouble now. We've got to have programs of austerity on the people who have bailed out the banks and the less than 1%, in effect. And so that has taken us a big step closer to this mass poverty slavery situation that this Hunger Games society demands. But of course, you then have still a significant number of people who are well off or even very well off, who are not part of this less than 1%, and the less than 1% want what they have too. So what they've done financially is move, and this happened particularly after a banking crash in Cyprus. They've moved from bailouts of failed banks, and what they're moving to now is bail-ins. And bail-ins are, if a bank crashes or there's a massive financial crash, which is what they're planning, then instead of governments bailing out the banks in the way that they have before, the authorities can go direct to the bank accounts of the depositors in those banks and take their money to bail out the bank. In other words, this is a great example in Cyprus. When they introduced the bail-in, when Cyprus banks crashed, people were guaranteed, as they are in the EU, something like 100,000 euros are guaranteed. If it's in your bank account, then that's guaranteed by the authorities, the EU, etc. If the bank crashes, anything above that is not guaranteed. So what happened in Cyprus is people who had a lot of money in those banks and will be considered very well off and no problem and all this austerity and stuff doesn't affect me. Well, they were a lot less rich when they did that bail-in, because something like 80% of the money above the 100,000 euros was just taken to bail out the banks, stolen by the authorities. And this has set the precedent for how they are going to deal with future banking crashes. And what this is doing is targeting those with money and are comfortable and seem to be secure, but are not part of the less than 1%, to take their money as well. So when you realize that this goal of this Hunger Games society is there, then when you're watching the news and you're seeing world events unfold, you can keep taking those events and those solutions and those political changes of policy, and you can put them into that Hunger Games society structure day after day after day, because that's the way it's moving. And of course, people have seen very clearly in the not too far back how far the police state has moved on, how far impositions have moved on, how far the police state personnel and organizations have not only got more vicious and more psychopathic, but are growing and growing in size and reach. That, and it's happening in Britain as much as in North America and elsewhere. That is the police state strata being put into place that is designed to hold the status quo of the less than 1% controlling everybody else. This is what is happening. And the other thing in terms of finance is the cashless society. The cashless society is all part of this Hunger Games society, where through having no cash that you can hold, the less than 1% and the institutions they control will control every form of money and know everything you spend. And because it will be entirely electronic, they can wipe away what you appear to own anytime they choose. So that structure is if people keep that in their minds, they'll see it moving in that direction every time they turn on the news.
The flip of a switch will turn you into a nobody. And begging on the street will do no good, because nobody's going to, bounce a credit card into your hand, and there's no cash to beg for. And that's one of the most frightening concepts out there, but it would literally be the flip of a switch.
Yeah, exactly that. And the idea, of course, of taking people's money and resources as people. I mean, how many people, Jimmy, are in America today, in America tonight, sleeping in the streets, who not long ago had what they would call a good middle-class job and a decent income?
Way too many.
How quickly it can happen. I mean, you describe it very well in terms of the flick of the switch. And what that creates is dependency. This is the crucial thing. Dependency equals control. And so the idea is to create dependency in all areas of our lives, so that we are at the beholding of the state. Okay, you've got no money. You want to eat? Okay, you do what the state tells you. You want to drink? You want some water? You do what the state tells you. And this is the process we're going into. And the reason I've spent all these years doing everything I can to highlight it is just to alert people to what the plan is, so that we, going back to what we talked about earlier, people can intervene in it by seeing where it's leading. I mean, we can walk down a path with a sheer cliff drop at the end of it, and we can stop a mile away, or we can go to the edge and be teetering over the brink. And when you're starting to lose your balance, teetering over the brink, it's a lot harder to not fall than it would have been if you'd have turned round a mile away. And so the closer we get to it, the more this control and dependency will be impacting upon people, and the more challenging it will be to turn it around. That's why, this is about today, not about tomorrow. This is not sometime over the rainbow. This is happening now, and we need to address it now. Otherwise, there's a natural end to this. There is an outcome to this, and that is what I'm describing will happen. It doesn't have to, but it will if there's not massive intervention by people waking up to it and seeing where it's going.
You have literally millions of followers. Fans is the wrong word. I will say followers and people that respect what you say around the world. And certainly governments around the world are aware of you. And you're about to embark on a world tour. And they must be, at some point, a little reticent to allow you into the country, if you know what I mean. And then I read and heard something about something going on with Australia, that they probably weren't too happy about you going there. What's the real story behind that, and what happened?
Well, Australia's interesting, and so is Canada. I've not been able to speak in Canada since about 2001.
Yeah, they wouldn't let me into Canada too. So there you go.
Yeah,
but
and then you then ask people about Canada, and you ask people about Australia, and they say, yeah, they're democratic free countries, you know. And if you look what's happening in Australia now, it's extraordinary. You've got a situation where the people on state benefits are told their benefits will be cut if they don't have their children vaccinated according to the whole vaccination list and protocol that the government demands. It's absolutely extraordinary. I mean, what more definition of fascism do people want? And so, because it's a global web, it's like a spider. There's a spider in the center of the web. That's the force that's orchestrating it globally. And then you have the web, and the web, different strands of the web are secret societies, government agencies, all this whole web of organizations. And so because it's a global web, it goes into every country. And thus, I kind of see the same things happening everywhere all the time because it's centrally coordinated, just like McDonald's has a headquarters in America or some other corporation and dictates to all its subsidiaries. So all the subsidiaries operate according to the diktat of the headquarters. It's the same how this web works. And so when I go into Canada or into Australia, the same force or the force in each country that doesn't really want me there is the same force operating through Canada and operating through Australia, what have you. So what happened with Australia is that when I went there a few years ago to speak in Melbourne in 2011, I turned up at the airport, and it was a strange thing because I was stopped at immigration, and I was taken into this room. And I'm not kidding you, Jimmy. It was straight out The Matrix. You know that room where Neo is being interviewed, and it's got its bright white walls and stuff like that.
Agent Anderson.
It was just like that. I thought I'm in The Matrix, you know. And I was asked to sign a letter to say that I'd read the letter. What it said was that if I create discord in Australia, then I could be thrown out of the country and not allowed back in. And when you look at the definition of discord, well, crikey, everyone's causing discord all the time. I have a different opinion to someone else. Anyway, they let me in, and I spoke there, and then I kind of left, and I went back. No,
well, let me ask you, David, let me jump in. Did it cause you to change your message? Were you then conscious of, to that definition of discord? Did you lift your foot off the gas pedal a little bit?
Didn't change a word.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay, go ahead.
And what I did at the start of the talk, it was in 2009 or 2011 in Melbourne, is that I went through the whole story of what had happened and how ludicrous it was, and I was making fun of discord all the way through the talk, because the thing is that if we are going to be in our power, then we have to speak our truth. And how people receive that truth is entirely up to them. That's their free choice and their free right. But it's our right to speak our truth. And just because someone in a uniform gives me a letter and warns me about creating discord, doesn't mean I'm going to change anything. I'm not. I will say what I believe, and the consequences will follow. Once we start editing and censoring ourselves because of, here's the word again, Jimmy, fear of consequences, then we are being absorbed into this fear-based system of control. I will not have it. And so in 2011, I went back and I did a lot of events like I'm doing this time in Perth and Brisbane and Sydney and Melbourne. And I turn up at the airport again, and I'm standing in line. And when I stood in line, quite a few lines at the immigration, there was a guy in uniform behind who I saw specifically move and stand behind the immigration desk facing my line. So I thought, well, I've seen that before. So what I did is then I moved my line just to have a bit of fun. And he moved and stood behind that line. So I thought, okay, we're gonna have a situation here.
Yeah, here we go.
And I don't know what happened, because I got to the desk and they took one look at my passport and handed it to the guy behind who was there. And then I was asked a load of questions and stuff like that, and they went off into some office in the back, leaving me there, sitting there. And then they came back about 10 minutes later, and I don't know what had happened in between. But you know, they were so overly nice. I thought, this person has shape-shifted. What have you done? This person has just transformed their personality in 10 minutes.
Right.
Oh, have a good trip. And I don't know what happened there. And so I went and did it. And then this time, each time when I've asked for a visa to get in, it's taken longer. This time, it took months. In fact, funnily enough, I think it was September time that I applied for the visa to go and do the speaking tour this time. And it was January before it came through. And I had a conversation with the people who were organizing, and we came to the conclusion that if we didn't get the visa through in 48 hours, then we're going to have to pull it because there wasn't enough run-up time. And 24 hours later, it came through to our great delight. And so I'm going in. What will happen when I get there? I mean, I've been stopped so many times at immigration in Canada and Australia. They asked me to the Christmas party. You know what I mean?
Right.
But those two countries are particularly bad for me.
They get you got the visa without an asterisk next to it. There was no preconditions.
No, not so far. I've not gone in there yet. But whatever the preconditions are, if they involve not saying what I believe, then I'm still going to say what I believe, because it's very important. The worst kind of censorship is self-censorship, and so much of that goes on in the mainstream media. I worked in the mainstream media for a long time. I saw it all the time. It's this understanding that if you say this or you expose this or you do this, there are going to be consequences. And also, it's not going to get in the paper or on the broadcast anyway. It's going to get spiked. So there's no point. So journalists then start to self-censor and just operate within the parameters of what's acceptable to the media organization. And that's the worst kind, because at least open censorship can be seen. See, they're censoring that. Self-censorship, it's happening in the shadows. People don't see it. And that's the worst kind. And the people who are exposing what's happening outside of the mainstream absolutely must not fold and concede to self-censorship. It's a very dark road, that one.
One of the things that you address, and I think you do it well, very effectively, is when you talk about us living in not only the matrix, but a large quantum computer and Wi-Fi signals and digital, and I talked about it in the opening of the show. And it's one of the things for me that just opens up my eyes. And can you share a little bit of that with the audience as we start to close out here? And thank you for hanging on for a little bit. But I think it's an important message. And when people question the reality that they live in, or if that this is even possible, the way that you paint that picture, I think allows us to understand it a little bit more.
Yeah, well, on the world tour, I'm going to go into this in some detail, as I do in Phantom Self, because this is something that's really come to me very vividly over the last, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, actually even further back, and that's that we live in an equivalent of a quantum computer video game, if you like. And it's amazing how the reality that we're experiencing and the emerging technologies mirror each other. And it makes the job of people like me much easier because, unlike the shamans of the past, I have analogies in symbolizing reality in the very technology that people are using all the time. This quantum universe is like, in simplest terms, it's like a Wi-Fi field or a series of Wi-Fi fields. And I'm sitting in front of a computer now, and I'm seeing pictures and graphics and words on the screen. But what's actually happening is that is simply a decoded reality. Actually, in terms of the internet, it's a collective global reality that is decoded from information. I mean, if my flat here had Wi-Fi, and I said to people who didn't know about computers, there's a whole worldwide reality in the space that you're standing in, they'd say you're crazy, you're mad. I can't see it. Where is it? But because we know about computers, people have no problem with that. Oh, Wi-Fi, yeah, I understand that. Yeah, and it's in the atmosphere, and the computer decodes that. Yeah, I understand that. Well, as I've been writing for a long time, the body is a biological computer. It is interacting with these fields and decoding a reality from them. People who are caught in the five sense world, they think all this is real, but it's not. The only place that this reality exists in the way that we experience it is in the brain, where information is decoded from electrical information into visual information by the visual parts of the brain. What we think is outside of us is actually inside of us. And so this whole concept of us living in a matrix, computer-like reality has been picked up by a number of scientists and scientific studies around the world now, who are concluding the same. Do you know, as some of them have pointed out, that they found equations in the fabric of our reality that are, quote, indistinguishable from those that drive search engines and browsers. There's a guy called Max Tegmark, who is at MIT, who has pointed out that the universe can be entirely described by numbers and maths in the same way that a video game is encoded. So what we're getting, then there's also a project at the University of Bonn in Germany, which is exploring and concluding that actually this is a video game type reality. And I go into this in Phantom Self, and I will in the talks at some length, because it's the control of this video game, control of this information, that actually when you get deep in the rabbit hole, it's where this whole human control is coming from. And if you think of a Wi-Fi field, and then you think of the totality of it, If you could decode the totality of a Wi-Fi field, you would be decoding, having access to masses and masses of information and thus insight from that information. But if you are only decoding a fraction of that Wi-Fi field, you are going to access a fraction of the potential information and thus a fraction of the potential insight. And this is where we come back to focusing attention on the five senses. If you only interact with this reality on the five senses level, you are accessing a fraction of what is there to access if you expanded your awareness and started to interact with it in a much more expanded way. So when you get into this whole concept of the fact that we do live in a technologically manufactured reality, very much akin to the portrayal in the Matrix movies, it starts to make amazing sense of the world that we live in and why what happens and why things are as they are. See, for me, what we call the speed of light, which we can't go beyond, well, actually we can, but the speed of light, for me, is the wall of the Matrix. And when we get close to the speed of light, things start to go out of kilter. Things start to be act very strangely. The time starts to change, etc. And for me, that's because the biological computer, what we call the body, is reaching the outer limit of what it can decode and interact with, and thus things start to become very strange in terms of what happens. And beyond this speed of light, which is pedestrian compared with what's possible, that's the reality beyond the Matrix. And it's something that I've looked at in great detail, especially in more recent times, in terms of the detailed information to support this concept. And it is extraordinary how the information and evidence is there. I mean, Texmark is talking about the fact that when you move your body, when you move your arms, what is happening in terms of physics is just the same as when a character in a computer game does the same thing.
That's right.
It's extraordinary, but it doesn't half explain the world and why the world is as it is and why people are as they are. But if, again, we come back to it, if people can move their point of attention, their point of observation into infinite awareness, that's not in the Matrix. That's outside of the Matrix. It's observing the Matrix. It knows about the Matrix. It can see it. And thus you start then, because you're coming from that point of observation instead of being in this world and of it through the five senses, you start to see it. It becomes so obvious and so plain what the deal is about the reality we're experiencing and what's behind it. That's where the answer lies, and that's where you could see what you can never see if you're in the game and of the game.
You know what's really frightening, to talk about fear, is DARPA's number one project focus for quite a few years now is AI and AR. That's all of their budget focus is on a computer interface between us and consciousness and communicating with quantum computers. And if that is what they're dealing with now, and that's what they're telling us, then they've been already doing it for a long, long time. And their only concern and their only focus is creating and perfecting that artificial reality. And isn't that just about as scary of a thought as you can think of?
Well, I mean, I could talk for another 2 hours on that question alone, because it is fundamental, Jimmy. It's such a fundamental point. And in Phantom Self and on the world tour, I'll absolutely go into this in some detail. because DARPA is one of the most, if not the most, sinister organization on earth, and it works very closely in concert with Google. People think of Google and they think of a search engine. Actually, Google is far, far, far more than that. Google is a monster and fundamentally part of this whole control system that's unfolding. And Google, of course, has changed the name of much of its company to Alphabet to try to hide the extent of what it's doing. It is building robots. It is building robotic soldiers for the robot army I've been writing about for years that they plan. And it's massively involved in this whole transhumanist AI agenda. So suddenly, when the head of DARPA, a lady called Regina Duggan, leaves DARPA and moves to become an executive of Google, it's a very strange career move on the face of it, but when you know what's going on, it's perfectly explainable, because she's just moving from one expression of this agenda to another. And what I explain in Phantom Self, and this is kind of a whole program in itself, and what I will go into in the talks in detail, is how we are being led along a process from becoming addicted to technology that we hold to being moved on to what they call wearables. These are the Apple watches, the smart watches, anything that has smart in front of it, alarm bells go off, because all smart technology is designed to communicate with other smart technology, creating a smart grid, which is what they are in the process of doing. So you've got your smart watch, you've got your Bluetooth on your ear, you've got your Google Glass. These are the wearables. These are just pulling us along, come on, kitty, 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 from holding technology to having it on the body. And the next stage is already happening, is what they call implantables. That's getting that technology inside of people. And isn't it great? I've got this, I put this chip in, all this stuff. It's all a mind game, leading people along to get technology inside their bodies. And the idea is to connect human awareness, human consciousness, human mind, brain, body, whatever, the human biological computer, to a technological sub-reality. Now, I've been talking and writing about the technological sub-reality for a long, long time, way back. And now people like Ray Kurzweil, who is a Google executive and a frontman for Frankenstein, one of the great promoters of this transhumanist agenda, and he's selling it as humans becoming superhuman. What he's actually talking about, and he will know it, is humans becoming subhuman, becoming simply a computer terminal on a technological sub-reality web. And the term he uses for the sub-reality is the cloud. And he said openly that by 2030, humans will be thinking from the cloud. They will be connected to the cloud, and the cloud will be doing their thinking. And as time passes, less and less of the human will be involved until the cloud is doing all the thinking. And we'll be superhuman. No, you'll be a computer terminal. And what this is doing, and the chapter in Phantom Self where I detail this, is called transphantomism. And I call it that because the idea is, as you describe in terms of what DARPA is doing, it's to take people to the next step. At the moment, the program, the psychological perception program, is focusing people on the five senses at the expense of influence and awareness of the infinite expanded self. What transhumanism or transphantomism is about is going beyond the phantom. It's linking the body mind, what I call phantom self now, to this cloud. So the disconnection of incarnate humanity from infinite awareness becomes virtually total by this middle intervention of the cloud, the technological sub-reality. That's where it's leading, and people are so addicted to technology. You can see it now. This force that's behind it, I describe as like a computer virus. It's a ultimately, it takes many forms, but ultimately it is a self-aware, that's the important thing, a self-aware computer virus. And I was interested, I've been watching a series coming out of America, a very good series, called Through the Wormhole, fronted up by Morgan Freeman. And I've been watching some of the latest ones in the last few days. And there was, they talked to scientists, but fortunately it's scientists who are asking real questions rather than the mainstream where they don't. And there's one scientist, I think Michigan State University, who's actually exploring this whole area of digital life, digital awareness, how digital technology can be aware and be able to interact with the world, in effect, to be able to think. Now, what I'm talking about is a much more expanded version of that, where it's literally a self-aware, computer virus is as near as I can symbolize it. And it needs the ability to express itself in this reality. Now, for me, this virus has infected humanity, has been systematically implanted in reality way back when you see all these ancient stories of the gods intervening in human genetics and interbreeding with the gods. And I think there's a very good chance that this whole theme of being born with original sin in religion is actually referring to this virus, which is passed on from generation to generation. And this smart grid, this cloud, this AI world. I mean, what are they saying, Jimmy, all the time now? As you rightly say, it's artificial intelligence. Everything's going to be run by artificial intelligence. It's going to be great. All the cities are going to be run by artificial intelligence. Everything is. The question is, what is this artificial intelligence? What is it? What is it? I don't see people asking that. Oh, artificial intelligence, yeah. But what is it? And I would suggest that what's being created is a technological vehicle for this self-aware, quote, computer virus to take the world over completely by having everyone, humans, even down to your fridge, being connected to the internet, run by artificial intelligence. Everything is being connected to the internet. I mean, the CIA talk about the Internet of Things, where everything is connected to the internet, and it's what's happening now. And once that has been created, and humans through this transhumanist technology are also connected to the internet, then whoever controls whatever controls the internet controls everything. And I would strongly suggest that what is designed to control that internet, thus everything, is this artificial intelligence, which is this computer virus, self-aware computer virus that I'm talking about. That's where all this is leading, and it's leading there so fast. And that's why these next 3-4 years are so important, because this transhumanist agenda is moving on so fast, and people must be aware of where it's leading. Otherwise, it will get to where it wants to go.
I have a friend who writes code, and I was speaking to him about a month ago. What are you guys working on? And this is what he said, David, and I hope you're sitting down. He said that they are writing code right now for a mirror, a bathroom mirror. They're writing code. Now, think about the implications of that. For a lot of different things, obviously, to see the internet, your schedule, the news, and what you're doing, cameras looking back at you from the mirror, frightening, yeah. Right? And then he said this is what he followed up with, and chew on this. They're writing code for a toothbrush. And I said, wait a minute. He goes, Jimmy, man, it's going to be great. You know, you have to think about it. Your toothbrush is communicating with the software back on the internet, and it's monitoring how much you're brushing, how, when, pressure, and it will tell you. And I'm just, wait, what? And they don't know where to stop right now, David. There is no wall in front of them. The Internet of Things is here, and if they're writing code for toothbrushes, they're writing code for everything.
And another thing is that DARPA actually claim credit for creating the internet. And DARPA does not create anything unless it is to advance this agenda. The internet, in Phantom Self, I quote a guy who was speaking, an insider, who was speaking in 1969, and he described the internet, what was coming. He was talking to a group of doctors in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in 1969, and detailing how the world was going to change. And the accuracy of what he said compared with what is happening is stunning. And I'm going to quote him a few times in the world tour. So he was describing the internet, and he was describing smart TVs that can, film you in your own front rooms back in 1969. And of course, Orwell was talking about smart TVs, and he was calling them telescreens, where they were filming you in your own home. And the reason that he could say it in a book that came out in 1948, and this other guy could say it in 1969, is going back to where we started. If you have access to the projected agenda, then unless something intervenes to stop it, that is going to happen. And that is what is unfolding. The idea is that humans have no capacity whatsoever to think, perceive, feel that hasn't come from this technological grid, this cloud. That is what is happening before our eyes. And that will be total and utter control. And that's why we need to head this off and fast.
I want to thank you for coming on tonight. Now, we have to address a few things about you, the different shows around the world, number one. Number two, give me your 60-second take really quick before we get to the world tour, and I'm going to get you to commit to allowing me to give away some tickets, too, as well.
Right, no problem.
Yeah, you can't say no. Putting you on the spot. Is this, the Queen Mother just turned 290 years old. Okay, now, and I say that in jest, but I'm also not playing around with this. She just turned 90. She looks like she did 50 years ago. She hasn't aged a day. How is that possible, David? Give me your 60-second take on that.
Well, first of all, they have a different genetics, which I go into in the books, but also they do not have the same treatment that we have. I mean, Look at these major players in this whole less than 1% hierarchy and manipulation. Her mother, the Queen Mother, lived to the best part of 102. She's 90. I think Prince Philip is 94. Henry Kissinger is in his 90s. David Rockefeller is 100. J.D. Rockefeller, I think he lived to his 90s. And of course, J.D. Rockefeller was massively, fundamentally involved in imposing pharmaceutical medicine on people and suppressing the alternative. And yet he lived into his 90s. And when he died, he had his personal homeopath at his bedside. So these people do not have the same treatment that we have. But I think, Jimmy, there's also something genetically involved there, because they don't interbreed the, quote, blue bloods for a bit of fun. They're holding a particular, if you like, biological computer information field in place by not breeding outside of itself. And you see this in the Eastern establishment families of the United States, this interbreeding as much as you do in the royal families of Europe. And the length of time they live is extraordinary compared with what you would think in terms of the general population.
Yeah, Charles has got to be bummed out. I mean, his best days are behind him, right? If you think about it, and it's absolutely incredible. Okay, this is what I would like to do. Newport, Isle of Wight at the Medina. Is it Medina or Medina?
Medina, yeah. Medina Theatre, it's called.
Okay,
yeah.
That's the 4th of June. Tickets are still available for that. London is sold out. Congratulations. Then
Actually, Jim, it's the other way around. Medina's sold out. London was sold out, and then
they brought more tickets in
2 or 3 days ago. The venue we were going to use, their building work to create, make the place safe and upgraded is not going to be finished by the time we're supposed to speak there on. I'm supposed to speak there on the 18th of June. And so we've moved it to a bigger venue. So there are more tickets available now suddenly for that.
Okay, so London, there's more tickets available. Medina is sold out. And then we have, in Australia, you've got Perth at the Perth Racecourse, Sydney Town Hall, Brisbane, Logan Metro Sports Centre, Melbourne at the Plenary, and then you're over in New Zealand in Auckland at the Logan Campbell Centre. And then over here in the United States, we have New York at the Grand Prospect Hall, Los Angeles. I can't wait to get a chance to hang out with you here. It's going to be great in Irvine.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yep, and then San Francisco at the Craneway on the 24th of September. This is what I would like to do. I would like to, because we have a worldwide audience, as you know, I'd like to give away 1 ticket for each continent. How's that? 1 for the UK, 1 for Australia, and 1 for the United States. And for the UK tour, it'll be the London show that we'll give away a ticket to. Am I correct on that?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's make it two tickets.
Okay. You pick. You want to do Australia and the United States?
Well, let's do each continent.
Okay. 1 in each continent. Okay, so 3. There you go.
Well, we do 2 tickets for London, 2 tickets for America, 2 tickets for Australia, a couple of tickets for New Zealand.
Okay, and a couple for New Zealand. Thank you so much, and what a fascinating talk tonight. And I'll let everybody know, this is part 1. David's going to be back with this in a couple of months after he gets Australia out of the way, and then we'll have him back on and we'll continue everything. Thank you so much, David, for getting up so early in the morning. Absolutely great conversation.
Pleasure, Jimmy. Thanks. See you soon.
You're the best. Thank you so much, David.
Bye.
There you go. Wow. David Icke. Okay, so we've got some tickets that we can give away. We're going to give away 2 for London, 2 for Australia, 2 for Auckland, New Zealand, and 2 for here in the United States. And we'll do that over the next couple of weeks, okay? And we have time to get everybody in line and get that done. Thank you so much, David Icke. Incredible. And, of course, you can go to davidicke.com. Now, I blew past 3 network breaks. We went commercial free. I'm going to break in, get a commercial in, and when I come back, we'll be joined with Jon Rappoport and the No More Fake Newsroom. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Thank you, David Icke. I'll be back with Jon Rappoport right after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Not being able to fall asleep is so frustrating. The tossing, the turning, the adjustment of pillows and blankets. Ugh! Eventually you just decide to get up and start your day really early. It doesn't have to be this way though. Power Sleep is an all-natural, non-prescription formula that will help you sleep like a baby. It contains neurotransmitter nutrients that promote the production of serotonin, which is responsible for feelings of well-being. Power Sleep is easy to digest and absorb and is made in a base of active probiotics. Don't miss another night of sleep. Order your Power Sleep at EnergyWave.com or call 800-TURTLE-5. Add Power Vites to your cart while you're browsing. Perfect for Monday mornings. They're a complete multivitamin and mineral formula that will give you the energy you need to get through your day. Nourish your immune system and feel great. Get all the info and place your order at EnergyWave.com. Enter code word SLEEP to get free shipping. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you and Hillary for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With a mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
And now, coming to you from the No More Fake Newsroom in deep space, which is the space that we suspect to be true. That the world, as is fed to us every day by the Ministry of Truth, is a lie, false reality, a projected screen for your subconscious. This, however, is the breakout. All of the screens crash. They all go down, and we see the light of day, a new day. No more robots, no more androids. It's the No More Fake Newsroom with Jon Rappoport. John, take it away. All yours.
Thanks, Jimmy. Here we go, folks. Fluoridation, fluorides, fluorosilicic acid in water supplies all over the world. I'm going to be quoting from a couple of articles that are up, articles of mine at No More Fake News. But first, I want to mention a group in New Zealand that is waging a battle very hard right now against fluoridation. It's called Fluoride Free NZ. NZ for New Zealand. Fluoride Free NZ. Look them up. They've got lots of information. You can help them spread this information all over the world, because what's happening is this group has been very successful at getting local town councils to unfluoridate, defluoridate, not use fluorides in water supplies. But now the New Zealand government wants to drown the entire country in fluorides. So they are trying to put the entire issue of fluoridation, no fluoridation, under the central government. That's always the way it goes, folks. Escalate it up onto a higher level where there is more power over everybody all at once, make the decisions there, call the locals crazy, say they don't know what they're talking about, they don't understand science, and we, the central government, will prevail. Fluoride Free NZ. So we begin tonight with an article titled Fluorides, the Atomic Bomb and a Spy. And two reporters in 1997, Joel Griffiths and Chris Bryson, respected mainstream journalists, peered into an abyss. They found a story about fluorides that was so chilling it had to be told. The Christian Science Monitor, who had assigned the story, never published it. Griffiths discovered hundreds of documents from the World War II era. These included papers from the Manhattan Project, launched to build the first A-bomb. The authors write, and get this, folks, fluoride was the key chemical in atomic bomb production. Millions of tons were essential for the manufacture of bomb-grade uranium and plutonium for nuclear weapons throughout the Cold War. The documents reveal that fluoride was the most significant health hazard in the U.S. A-bomb program for workers and for communities around the manufacturing facilities. The authors, Griffiths, Bryson write, much of the original proof that fluoride is safe for humans in low doses was generated by A-bomb program scientists who had been secretly ordered to provide evidence useful in litigation against persons who had been poisoned by fluoride and would sue for damages. The first lawsuits against the U.S. A-bomb program were not over radiation, that wasn't the issue, but over fluoride damage, the government documents show. Bang. The most wide-reaching study done was carried out in Newburgh, New York between 1945 and 1956. This was a secret op called Program F. The researchers obtained blood and tissue samples from people who lived in Newburgh, and Griffiths Bryson found the original and secret version of this study. Comparing it to a different sanitized version, the reporters saw that evidence of adverse effects from fluorides had been suppressed by, guess who? The U.S. Atomic Energy Commission. Flash forward. Enter Dr. Phyllis Mullenix, the head of toxicology at the Forsyth Dental Center in Boston. In the 1990s, Mullenix did a series of animal studies which showed that, as Griffiths, Bryson write, fluoride was a powerful central nervous system toxin. So she applied, Mullenix did, for future grant monies. Boom, turned down. She was also told that fluorides do not have an effect on the central nervous system. But Griffiths and Bryson uncovered a 1944 Manhattan Project memo which states, clinical evidence suggests that uranium hexafluoride may have a rather marked central nervous system effect, destructive. It seems most likely that the F fluoride component rather than the uranium is the causative factor. And the article goes on and discusses Dr. Harold Hodge, who eventually looked over Mullenix's shoulder to make sure, apparently, that she was sticking to the party line about fluoride has no toxicity, no problem. But she didn't stick to it. So her research grants were canceled. Getting the idea here, I write, build an A-bomb, forget the toxic fluoride consequences, bury the fluoride studies, twist the studies. This is big stuff, folks. Farmers in the area of the Manhattan Project during the first A-bomb manufacture research project began to bring lawsuits against the government, which was a big problem. And so this spy, Harold Hodge, in my opinion, a definite spy, wrote this memo. Would there be any use in making attempts to counteract the local fear of fluoride on the part of residents near the A-bomb facility through lectures on fluoride toxicology and perhaps the usefulness of fluoride in tooth health? Griffiths and Bryson write, such lectures were indeed given not only to New Jersey citizens, but to the rest of the nation throughout the Cold War. In other words, this was a whole launching pad, folks, for fluorides as, quote, successful dental treatments. And now you know why promoting toxic fluorides as a dental treatment was so important to government officials. I've only quoted parts of that article. It's explosive. Read it at No More Fake News. But you're getting the idea. This is where it all came from. This is where it all started. The whole business about fluorides. Wow, we just figured out it's wonderful for tooth health. No, it's wonderful for covering over lawsuits against the federal government for poisoning citizens around the Manhattan Project. That's the deal. And now we go to the second piece here, the second article. The fluoride wars, loving cancer, loving lower IQ. It's no surprise that the U.S. government would look the other way when lower IQ and cancer are business as usual. One of the major agencies that would look the other way is the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. And for you folks who are not living in the U.S. listening to this, this is indeed the federal agency that's supposed to protect people against environmental damage, pollution, chemical illness, derived illness from chemicals like pesticides and so forth, all of this. So now, get this. But suppose scientists within the EPA spoke out, revolted, and issued official rebukes to their own agency's position on fluorides. Just suppose that happened. Well, it did happen, going back 17 years to 1999. And we are talking about the EPA Union of Scientists. And I'm now going to quote from a May 1st, 1999 statement titled, "Why EPA's Headquarters Union of Scientists Opposes Fluoridation," written by William Hersey, Hirzy, Ph.D., the Union of Scientists Senior Vice President, Chapter 280. We have a union of public scientists within the EPA, and a vice president of theirs wrote a statement about that union of scientists opposing fluoridation of water supplies, May 1st, 1999. Based on scientific literature, I'm now quoting, documenting the increasingly out-of-control exposures to fluoride, the lack of benefit to dental health, and hazards to human health from such ingestion. Hazards include, get this, acute toxic hazards such as to people with impaired kidney function, as well as chronic toxic hazards of gene mutations, cancer, reproductive effects, neurotoxicity, bone pathology. In support of this concern are results from 2 epidemiology studies from China that show decreases in IQ in children who get more fluoride than the control groups of children in each study. These decreases are about 5 to 10 IQ points in children aged 8 to 13 years. This is huge, folks, in case there's any question about it. Dropping 5 to 10 IQ points, boom, just like that, from exposure to fluorides. Continuing now with Hersey's statement. Again, representing the EPA's own union of scientists. Another troubling brain effect has recently surfaced. Fluoride's interference with the function of the brain's pineal gland. Pineal gland produces melatonin, which, among other roles, mediates the body's internal clock, doing such things as governing the onset of puberty. So he's now talking about earlier onset of sexual maturity or puberty, an effect reported in humans as well in 1956. Early sexual maturity from fluorides in water, disrupting the body's own biological clock. The statement goes on to say EPA fired the Office of Drinking Water's chief toxicologist, Dr. William Marcus, who was also our union's treasurer at the time, for refusing to remain silent on the cancer risk issue. Cancer risk issue. EPA fired him over his fluoride work and not for the phony reason put forward by EPA management. Dr. Marcus won a lawsuit and is again at work at the EPA. Hersey goes on to talk about cancers, osteosarcomas in young men in New Jersey, Washington, and Iowa based on their drinking fluoridated water. This is just amazing stuff. I'm skipping ahead here. We're now talking about Dr. Jon Rappoport, if I have that pronunciation correct, Principal Dental Officer for Auckland, the largest city in New Zealand. And I'm still quoting the EPA's scientist, Dr. William Hersey here, who was a staunch supporter of fluoridation, colloquin, in New Zealand, until he was given the task of looking at the worldwide data on fluoridation's effectiveness in preventing cavities. He wrote a paper titled, Why I Changed My Mind About Water Fluoridation. He provides details on how data were manipulated to support fluoridation in English-speaking countries, especially the U.S. and New Zealand. So he did a 180 turn here. I'm still quoting, mutation studies show that fluoride can cause gene mutations in mammalian and lower order tissues at fluoride concentrations estimated to be present in the mouth from fluoridated toothpaste. Tumors of the oral cavity seen in a cancer study. So in addition to our concern over the toxicity of fluoride, we note the uncontrolled and apparently uncontrollable exposures to fluoride that are occurring nationwide via drinking water, processed foods, fluoride pesticide residues, and dental care products. Unbelievable. I'm skipping down here. And then at the end, he talks about an immediate halt to the use of the nation's drinking water reservoirs as disposal sites for the toxic waste of the phosphate fertilizer industry. That's where the majority of fluorides that you find in water supplies come from, the toxic waste of the phosphate fertilizer industry. Now, here's the deal. This statement was made in 1999 by Dr. William Hersey, whom I've spoken to in the past, who was, as I say, a leading member of the EPA's own union of scientists. So this is a revolt in the ranks, a rebellion against the EPA. Where were the mainstream media stories about this? Gigantic story. A revolt within the federal government on a key issue of health for the American people and worldwide as well. No major media stories. Now, I happen to know that many efforts were made to get this story, major media, and it was turned down time after time after time. Oh, we don't want to publish this. Oh, we don't really think it's, it's not really a story. We want proof, absolute proof of the votes of the people in the union at the EPA to prove that they were behind Dr. Hersey when he issued this statement. Well, where are the negative statements from the union saying, well, we never okayed this? I haven't seen any. Dr. Hersey is a very well-qualified chemist. He is talking about the consensus of the Union of Scientists at the EPA, and no major media stories come out. Nothing. In 17 years, because the statement that I just quoted from is from 1999. So all of this time, this damage has been occurring to people who come in contact with not only fluoridated toothpaste, but water that is contaminated by fluorides. Nothing in major media. As you know, those of you who've been listening to my reports on Fade to Black, I always bring in the media component because as a reporter, I'm familiar with the mindset of these people. I know how they operate. I know how they suppress stories. And this is one of the big ones. The door was locked against this story ever leaking out because look at what the consequences would have been. Unbelievable. The EPA's own scientists are refuting the EPA's stated position that fluorides are safe. You know, yes, we at the EPA know that fluorides are perfectly safe. Of course, our own scientists say it isn't. But we, who are merely bureaucrats and don't know anything, declare that it's perfectly safe, and therefore we're carrying out our mandate to protect the health of the American people. Whew. Now, let's look at something else here. What we're talking about here is medical treatment. I mean, what else would you call it? This is medical treatment. Fluorides in water supplies. This is everyday medical treatment. People are exposed to the water. They drink it. They cook with it. They shower in it, etc., etc. It is a chemical. It's not there to make the water better. It's there as a treatment. Now, when is the last time you've heard of a forced medical treatment of the entire population of many, many communities without the informed consent of its citizens who are unaware, for the most part, that this is a medical treatment or that the EPA scientists have declared it to be extremely toxic, lowers IQ, causes cancer, etc., etc.? But we're going to give you the medical treatment whether you like it or not. You've never heard of that. This is the illustration of it. And it's right there in front of our noses. You don't have to go to any esoteric lengths to bring this out. It's there. You can look it up. You can find out whether your water supply where you live is fluoridated or not. It's a medical treatment. No prescription is being written for you. No doctor is telling you that you need it. Nobody is giving you a choice about it. It's being inflicted upon you. That's a violation of every code that has ever been formed legally on a national or international level about medical treatment. Oh, yes. So, of course, we have a rule, you may not be aware of it, that we can impose a medical treatment on the entire population, not just here and there and then and now, but every day, all the time, everywhere. We can do that. Of course you can. Really? Let's see the rule. Let's see the law. Let's see the permission. It's nowhere to be found. And yet you can look up articles about fluorides and you'll find a kind of a footnote. Well, there is some controversy about whether it's okay to provide this kind of what people are calling medical treatment for the entire population. No, it's not a controversy. It's a fact. Populations are being subjected to this in many, many countries all over the world. Now, if this story had gotten out in 1999, that the U.S. federal Environmental Protection Agency's own scientists were squarely against fluoridation and cited the grievous consequences of this, that story would have exploded all over the world and we would be living in a different universe right now. I can guarantee you that. People would have gone to prison. Fluoridation would have been outlawed. Scandals would have erupted inside the federal government. And this would have become contagious for other agencies within the federal government, for example, the FDA or whatever that agency is in the country where you live that certifies medical treatments as being safe and effective before they can be released for public use. Where was the FDA? What about the other things that the FDA is doing. For example, certifying as safe and effective medical drugs that routinely maim and kill people. Well, let's look into that. The New York Times would say, now that we were forced to blow up this scandal about fluorides, let's look there. Let's look at pesticides, some of which contain fluorides, as well as medical drugs contain fluorides. But let's not just look at the fluorides. Let's expand this whole thing. And then you would have found a different history. We would now be living in a different world if this story had been exposed, as it should have been, and pounded on as the scandal that it was in 1999. This story would still be alive in the press. Public faith would have been lost completely in these agencies of the federal government. And I can guarantee you, because I know how these things work, that with investigations by reporters, you would have scientists coming out of the woodwork and confessing to all sorts of crimes, all sorts of cover-ups, all sorts of scandals having to do with fluorides, other environmental poisons, medical poisons in the form of medical drugs, pesticide poisons, the whole kit and caboodle of what the chemical giants have been wreaking on the world population would have become not only known by now, but widely known, widely scandalized, widely prosecuted, widely eliminated from the scene. This is how major media operate, folks. Make no mistake about it. It's a serial criminal operation of public relations and propaganda on behalf of major heavy hitters in society, the major elite players, to keep the cover on and suppress dangerous stories. That's what these people do in the major media. That's what they're paid to do. They are very well aware, as I am and as I'm making you aware, that there is this contagion factor on certain scandals which, if brought to light in major media, would lead to the emergence into the light of other similar scandals, and the effects would ripple out and ripple out and ripple out. This is why major media are locked up. I've spoken about vaccines, for example, on the show here before. It's the same issue there. Has to be covered up. The lid must be kept on because of this monumental contagion factor. Because the public is only dumb as long as it is kept in the dark. Once the light shines, people wake up and they say, well, not only do I see this incredible crime and scandal, I'm now wondering about other things. How about this? How about that? How about this? And how about that? And that becomes a kind of a dance. Everybody's waking up. Hey, look at what we just discovered. Look at what just has been reported here, and so on and so forth. And so the information I'm giving you tonight, instead of being located in the No More Fake Newsroom on the Jimmy Church Show, this information would be long since trumpeted around the world by the New York Times, by CBS, by NBC, by ABC, by networks, the BBC, by networks all over the world, China, Russia, everywhere, since the year 1999. That's the news that we would have as our daily diet of news, you see. So what I'm showing you here is the seesaw effect, you know. Right now, the major media are sitting on the seesaw, and their end is on the ground, and we're up in the air. And up in the air, we're reporting the truth to you. But that seesaw is beginning to move. It's really beginning to move because people are beginning to say, you know, I'm actually getting the truth from somewhere else. So let me look at more truth. And that is eroding the power and the lockup that the major media have. Use your imagination and think about the world we would be living in if all of this were really being covered and investigated and brought fully into the light by the reporters and the editors who are supposed to be guarding against the corruptions of giant governments and giant corporations. Think of the kind of world we would now be living in, and therefore what major media have been doing to prevent that world from happening, the world we all want, the world we need, the world that we're starting to get as all of this is happening.
I am stunned, John. And don't you ever change, my friend.
No chance, Jimmy.
Don't do it.
Too late now. Too late now.
Yeah,
the die has been cast.
Yeah, you can't back up the truck.
Yeah, right.
Hey, John, thank you so much, and you have a great, safe weekend, and we'll see you next week right here on Fade to Black. Thank you so much, John.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Jon bleepin' Rappoport, everybody. No More Fake Newsroom is his website. Go there every single day. It should be the start of your day, just like it is for me. Jon Rappoport, I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
If your home has hard water and it's leaving white spots, then it's likely that limescale is clogging your pipes. Limescale can cost hundreds of dollars a year in wasted energy and early appliance breakdown. HydroCare systems available at Wave Home Solutions prevent and remove limescale with just a simple filter change every 3 years. There are no salts, chemicals, or magnetic coils. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, just go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
If you're a talk radio fan, AccessRadio.net lets you listen to the best talk shows anytime and from anywhere. Works on your mobile or landline phone, and there's no cost if you have unlimited minutes. No need to use your data. Find your favorite talk show listen lines and discover new ones. Now you can listen on your schedule. Go to AccessRadio.net. That's AccessRadio.net. Save your favorite listen lines today.
Hi, I'm Richard Dolan. When I'm not hosting my radio program, The Richard Dolan Show on KGRA, or writing new books on UFOs, I run a publishing company. I'm proud to say that Richard Dolan Press has published some of the most fascinating books available on UFOs and related subjects. They include Dr. Bruce Maccabee's classic analysis of the UFO cover-up, David Marler's breakthrough book on triangular UFOs, Dr. Richard Sauter's unique work on underground bases, and other classics by Grant Cameron, Chase Kletsky, and Dr. Bob Wood, not to mention intriguing works by Eve Lorgan and Laurie MacDonald that deal with truly bizarre phenomena. I'm proud to publish such high-quality and original works, and there are several amazing books about to be released over the next few months. Go to richarddolanpress.com to learn more.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Wow. What a week it was, huh? Thank you, David Icke. Thank you, Jon Rappoport. And I'm serious, John, don't you change, ever. It's hanging out for the last couple of breaks over in the Spreaker chat room. And I got to tell you something, kiddies. You guys are out of control. You need a babysitter over there. You need a camp counselor. You guys are off the hook, having fun. And so, which means I wasn't over in Twitter. I was just, man, that speaker chat room is that is run amok. You guys are so cool. I love this family. Now, I just want to say a couple of things really quick as we wait for Les Johnson III to make his weekly appearance. We've decided a couple of things when it comes to Ralph Ellis. And he might even be listening right now. We kind of knew this was going to happen. And in a weird way, we were hoping that it wouldn't. But we are going to do a part 3 with Ralph. And to be honest, we've never done that. Anybody that has listened to this show over the last few years, you know how we do things here. We try to rotate guests every 6 months or a year, as they, more research and stuff happens and there's great new stuff to talk about. We do that. But with Ralph and the way that he has done his research and he has written for, a couple of decades now, that it is absolutely impossible to nail that guy down and get everything done in a show. And we were able to do over the last 2 weeks, the ancient history of Egypt, and how that tied into Persia and Edessa and 80-30 to 80-70 and that missing part of history that was incorrectly told in the Bible and the biblical history of it and that side. So we corrected that a couple of weeks ago. And then we corrected history again this week with King Arthur. And it's an incredible story. But we ran out of time again. And now it takes us to the next phase in the story. And so we are going to do that on Monday. We're going to bring Ralph Ellis back for a third straight week. And there's reasons why. Because we have to do a continuation of the story. And we have to have it all fit together. It wouldn't do you or the history that we're presenting any justice if we did it any other way. So that's what we are going to do. And we have got a tremendous week lined up next week, starting with Ralph Ellis on Monday. And then the week after that, and I kind of let things slip in the Spreaker chat room. Rita's going to kill me later. But the week after that, we've got some big things that are happening here on the show. So how can it get better than tonight? Well, it just has to. Okay, we have set precedents, and we've set the bar, and that's where we are at. So there you go. All right? What's up, Les? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, Jimmy. How are you doing?
How's your...
You sound like you're excited,
man.
For tomorrow, aren't you?
Well, yeah, man. Life is good right now, but what a show tonight, huh?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, getting David Icke on, dude, we have not had, I posted it earlier, and we hadn't had him on for, episode 62?
I did not realize that. I didn't realize it was that long ago.
Yeah.
Well, see, the thing is, with David, and, we're always in contact with him, and we were going to bring him back not too long ago, but he had just come off a bunch of Wembley gigs. And he had said, Jimmy, man, I'm exhausted. And, I just, I need, so there was always something in play with him that we couldn't pull it off. And now we're going to have him, back, I think, August. We're going to have him back for part 2 right before he comes over to the United States in September.
He's coming in September?
He'll be here in the States in September, yeah.
Sweet. And dude, have you ever had a call to have someone back on 3 Mondays in a row?
No,
like
we've never even done 2 in a row. No, it's never happened. No. Nope.
Ralph Ellis is flipping amazing. And I think we all love him already. I think we just need to make him like part of the family and like a fate or not, and that's just it.
Well, I can retire.
No, dude.
That's fine. I can retire. Hand the reins over to Ellis and Rappoport, and Rita and I can go get our lives back.
Dude?
I ain't got no issues with that. Yeah, if you go to davidicke.com, the world tour is there. So for everybody, Newport, the Isle of Wight at the Medina Theater, that's sold out. The London gig, they've changed venues, so they've got more tickets. It was sold out, but now they've got a bigger venue, and you just go to davidicke.com, and there you go. So we'll be giving away 2 tickets for that. Australia is Perth, Sydney, Brisbane, and Melbourne. We're going to give away 2 tickets for that, and then we're going to give away 2 tickets for Auckland, New Zealand, and then he'll be over here in the United States. Now, all of those gigs are in July, except for New Zealand, which is the 6th of August at the ASB Showgrounds.
So are you thinking about going and seeing that in New Zealand?
No, we don't have time, and I wish we could, but United States is New York in the 10th of September, so everybody on the East Coast at the Grand Prospect Hall in Manhattan. And then Los Angeles is the Irvine Marriott, and that is the 17th of September. And, of course, we will be at that gig. And then San Francisco at the Craneway, the 24th of September. And I've noticed one thing that David does when you look at the scheduling. He's got everything exactly 1 week apart because he's on stage for 8 straight hours.
What? That's almost inhuman.
Nobody does that. No, nobody does that. Nobody does that. And so I would do the same thing, man. He's on stage for 8 straight hours and then probably in bed for 2 days because I know I would be. But
especially dealing with, arthritis and stuff like that. I mean, that must just be so draining. I can only imagine. Dude, there's no way in heck I could do that.
Well, he was saying, and it's really true, you let adrenaline take over. And that's just what happens. You're driven by the focus of the audience. There's a reason why a guitar player that that's an okay guitar player, right? And then he's a buddy of yours, right? And he's only okay. And then you go and watch him play a gig. And it's just like, what? I didn't know he could play like that. Because the focus and the adrenaline, the focus of the brain power of the audience focused on you on stage, number one. Number two, the adrenaline of everything takes over, and your brain is firing on all cylinders. And that's what adrenaline takes over, man. And at the end of the gig, you're going to drop dead because the adrenaline is done in your body. But you look back and you're like, man, I never played like that before. You hear it over and over again. And it's the same thing with David Icke. You're getting up there to an audience that is there for you, that is completely focused. And no matter what happened on the night before, you're going to you're going to drink some water, you're going to hit the stage, and then boom. And he goes into the zone, and 8 hours later, he comes out of it. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to be, Rita and I will be with him before and after the show. And so I get to see exactly what's going on. But I know that is indeed the case. But, yeah, what a great week on the show. And
it's only going to get better.
Yeah, next week is pretty exciting, and it's all done, and we'll have all of that up over the next couple of days. But next week is pretty dang amazing. And you got
any hints for Tuesday and Wednesday?
Nope. Ain't gonna do it.
Come on, Jimmy, just a small hint.
Nope. Okay, 2 men. 2 men.
I love you, brother.
Yeah, we have 3 men next week.
All right, cool.
That are alive. All right, Les. Take us out of here, brother. It was a great night. Take us out.
All right. Special thanks to David Icke and Jon Rappoport. And Jimmy would like to thank all the Fadernauts that I normally say who phoned home tonight. Fade to Black executive producer is Rita Kamurian. Special thanks to LJ3, that's me, Renee, Jonas, Mark. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Brother Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Bateau, and Mark D. Kovar. Fadey by Dale. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro by Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, syndicated on KGRA. And with that for the week, Jimmy and I are out of here.
Thank you so much, Les. Have a great, safe weekend.
Safe travels, Jimmy.
Thank you so much. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2016 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. Thank you to David Icke and Jon Rappoport. We're taking tomorrow off, everybody. The replay of tonight's show will be playing tomorrow. We'll see everybody up in San Francisco on Friday at the New Living Expo. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Everybody be safe. Go Beckley Teppy.